Part 9. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 82. Just, kill with one sword. The air seemed to be stagnant. As the supreme elder of Lei Yan Valley, Lei Goza's mastery of thunder methods can be said to be second only to Emperor Lei Yan. The midterm strength of the Baha'i realm is even close to that of the Emperor. As a result, there was no room for resistance, and he was killed by Empress Qingyu without any mercy with a single sword strike. Unexpectedly, although the war 100 years ago left the Empress with residual injuries, Empress Qingyu's strength still increased at a terrifying speed. If she really wanted to, it might be possible to suppress all the monks present by herself. Looking at Lei Goza's slumped body, in an instant, the supreme fear of Empress Qingyu once again filled everyone's hearts. When the Empress faced the Blossom Saint and Nai Chen, the ice-like cold seemed to melt. But now, no one dares to have such a ridiculous idea again. Empress Qingyu is still the same Empress, cold and arrogant, and no one can easily offend her. Qingyu, you killed Lei Gozi and destroyed their fairy seedlings. I'm afraid that Emperor Lei Yan won't let it go. The Blossom Saint Maiden walked to Chu Qingyu, looking slightly worried. It doesn't matter, one of them three great emperors counts as one. As long as I dare to have any thoughts on Tianyuan Palace, I don't mind killing all three of them. It just so happens that I also want to settle the grudges from 100 years ago. Chu Qingyu's eyes were cold, and every word she spoke seemed to exude coldness and murderous intent. Everyone suddenly had the same thought. Domineering. Only with such courage can she be called Empress Qingyu. I see. If that day comes, the Flower Holy Land is willing to do its best to help you fight. The Flower Saint nodded. It doesn't matter, I am enough. The first round is for friends, and the second round is for competition. In the third round of the ceremony, a 1,000-year-old elder from the Holy Land gave a sermon to the righteous monks who came. As expected of a senior from the Holy Land, this lecture lasted a whole day and night, but it benefited many monks a lot. In particular, some disciples who are not at a high level but have better understanding have benefited deeply, as if they were moistened by a spiritual spring. Then, a grand banquet was officially held in the Flower Holy Land. Singing, dancing, and banquets were all available, creating an extremely grand scene. The banquet lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, and all the monks who came back satisfied. The connections between the sects are getting deeper and deeper, and many people seem to have been baptized and their realm has been greatly improved. All in all, except for Lei Gozi who came out halfway, the ceremony went extremely smoothly. It seemed like a world where only Lei Gozi was injured. The Holy Land of Blossoms has strengthened its connections with major forces, and at the same time further consolidated the status and prestige of the Holy Land. At the end of the grand ceremony, a large number of monks said goodbye and left, while some stayed at the Holy Land of Flowers to continue their meditation and study. On the hillside behind the flower sanctuary, the breeze blows, and the flowers and plants sway with the wind. Nai Chen sat next to Chu Qingyu. Then, move it, and move it again. His shoulder touched lightly. Suddenly, Chu Qingyu's cold air collapsed. You stay away. Impossible. Nai Chen smiled and said. But, my wife, you were so handsome when you killed Lei Gozi. Is this the legendary beauty who saves the hero? Do you think I'm trying to save you? What does it have to do with me whether you die or not? I just see that guy being unhappy. Chu Qingyu curled her lips slightly, as if she didn't care. I believe you as a ghost. But wife, have you forgotten something? What happened? When I won the temperament competition, you were talking about the verbal reward. What a verbal reward, I don't understand it at all. In an instant, Chu Qingyu turned her head, her eyes evasive. Hey, honey, don't try to lie to me. What you said is not what you said. That's what you thought at the time. Nai Chen slowly approached. Although Chu Qingyu made a move to retreat, her retreat was extremely small. As soon as they saw it, they were completely attached to each other. But suddenly, the two of them turned their heads at the same time, staring at the distant tree behind them like swords. Ha ha ha, what a coincidence. The moon is so round today. Are you here to enjoy the moon too? The flower saint walked out from behind the tree with a smile. The sun is high and there are no clouds in the sky. What do you think? There was a cold and strange smile on Chu Qingyu's lips. Qingyu, it turns out that the friend you mentioned before is really you. The holy maiden of flowers retreated step by step, feeling extremely aggrieved. Don't go. If you want to watch, then keep watching. But in an instant, Chu Qingyu's figure floated behind her, and his jade-like hands gently rested on her shoulders. Qingyu, spare your life. Ah! A few breaths later, the majestic flower saint, the lord of the Holy Land, was roughly tied to a tree with a rope, and a pink belly band was stuffed in her mouth. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free. He could only dance his body and slender legs with all his strength, trying to make a final struggle. What are you looking at? Chu Qingyu pinched Nai Chen hard. Ahem, no, it's not me who's wrong, it's his eyes that he can't control. Nai Chen coughed twice in embarrassment and quickly turned his eyes away. There was no way, the original appearance of the Saint of Flowers was too beautiful. Compared with the wife, she was the kind of charming and soft style. In addition, the rope tied up the Saint of Flowers, which was already slender and graceful, outlined a more graceful curve. Especially the curve, which seemed to be a little bigger than Chu Qingyu. Any man would find it difficult to control himself. It calmed down for a while. Nai Chen leaned close to Chu Qingyu, his voice gentle. Wife, so the verbal reward you just mentioned. Chu Qingyu gently lifted the black hair at her temples, her cheeks flushed like jade. You know you can't let go of this, I will reward you. Wife, why are you so cute today? Humph. But, Saint Fanhua is still next to us. Let her watch. Wife, you are so bold. First Chu Qingyu took the initiative, then Nai Chen took the initiative, and then it was the other way around. Hey, pay attention to my feelings. The Saint Fanhua, who was tied to the tree, felt that her stomach was about to burst with all the dog food. But no matter how she shouted, she could only find that. Her voice was completely unable to stop the couple in love, and it could only make them more intense than before. Saint Fanhua dared to guarantee that throughout the world today, there is absolutely no one who has eaten more dog food than herself. But who remembers that she has been single for 800 years? Why am I the only one injured? Looking at the two figures on the lawn, the Saint of Flowers felt like crying but had no tears. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 83. Why would the Empress protect him? Outside the Holy Land of Flowers, Shu Xian's eyes were blood red, and the anger and murderous intent on his body seemed to have turned into tangible blood. Minister Cao quickly comforted, Prince, don't worry, maybe the Empress is just protecting the face of Tianyun Palace. Even if Nai Chen has extraordinary qualifications, he is still just an ordinary disciple. The Empress must have completely different feelings for him than you do, and there will definitely be no different feelings for him. Humph, even this is absolutely not possible. The Empress can only focus on this prince. As for everyone else, they all must die. Especially this Nai Chen, this prince must kill him with the most cruel means. Shu Xian's voice was already approaching madness. How could he still be as elegant and easygoing as he was in front of everyone in the Holy Land? Minister Cao was startled and quickly tried to dissuade him. But as soon as he turned his head, he saw a steady stream of bloody energy emerging from Shu Xian's body. Bloody lines spread all over his limbs, along his neck and all over his head. In the blink of an eye, even Shuzian's eyes were filled with scarlet blood streaks. These blood patterns are actually filled with an extremely strong aura of killing. This is the way to kill. Minister Cao couldn't help but open his eyes wide and couldn't believe it. In just a few words, the prince actually understood something again. The true body of enlightenment is really terrifying. The grand ceremony in the Flower Holy Land ended, and many of the forces that came to participate left one after another. This grand ceremony fully demonstrated the rich and mysterious heritage of the Holy Land of Flowers as the oldest of the 8 Holy Lands. The vast majority of people come with reverence in their hearts and return with great enjoyment. Not only did he experience the grand feast of the Flower Holy Land, but he also took this opportunity to establish connections with other sects. However, the news that the Empress killed Legoza with one sword quickly spread everywhere. King Yu, have a good journey. If anything happens, you can come to me at any time. Leading the people in the Holy Land, the Holy Maiden of Flowers saw each other off in front of the spiritual ship that was flying in Tianyun Hall. Although she still tried her best to maintain the holy image of the saint on the outside, she was feeling aggrieved in her heart. She has been fasting for so many years, but just from the dog food she ate on this day, the flower saintess felt that she had eaten more dog food than she had eaten in 800 years. Even though her stomach was empty now, she felt as if she was completely filled with dog food. Chu Qingyu and Nai Chen stepped onto the spirit boat one after another. Looking at this scene, the female disciples behind the flower saint maiden couldn't help but feel a throbbing in their hearts. Why do I suddenly feel that the Empress and Nai Chen seem to be a good match? For just a moment, I seemed to feel the same way. It was probably just an illusion. That's natural. With Empress Qingyu's identity and character, such a thing is absolutely impossible. Maybe, I still have a chance. That's right, senior brother Nai is still single. If I take action in time, it will definitely be possible. Go away, you nymphomaniacs. I am devoted to senior brother Nai. Even if there is a chance, it should be me. Aren't you the same? If so, it should be me. It's me. It's me. Damn it, senior brother Nai is mine, I will fight with you. Whoever is afraid of whom? Come and have a fight if you don't accept it. Whoever wins, senior brother Nai, belongs to you. Okay, let's fight now, whoever dares to coerce his granddaughter. The spiritual ship started, driven by Chu Qingyu's majestic spiritual power, and thousands of miles of mountains and rivers disappeared in an instant. Not long after, the spirit boat carried the disciples back to Tianyun Palace. The grand ceremony at the Flower Holy Land is an event that attracts everyone's attention. The disciples who were unable to go came forward to welcome him and asked what happened during the ceremony. But soon, they got some bad news. Cheng Xiuming, the immortal seedling of Lei Valley, and Lei Guzi, one was completely destroyed, and the other was killed with a sword. Although this thing sounds refreshing and exciting, I just feel like killing is good. But the consequences. Today's Tianyun Palace is no longer what it was before, so what about the 3 emperors? With the Empress and brother Nai Chen here, it's not certain who will overwhelm who this time. Suddenly a disciple stood up and said excitedly. Yes, the revenge of the 3 emperors has not yet been avenged. Those old guys must not be spared. Senior brother Nai did the right thing, don't say useless things, just call senior brother Nai awesome and that's it. Senior brother Nai is awesome. Senior brother Nai is invincible in the world. Senior brother Nai, heifer is flying. The originally subdued atmosphere suddenly became lively, and the shouts became louder and louder. Many disciples were so excited that they completely forgot that the opponent they faced this time was probably the 3 great emperors joining forces. By the way, senior brother Nai, what do you think about this matter? Looking at Nai Chen standing in front, all the disciples cast expectant glances at the same time. Nai Chen said solemnly, even if the Empress defeated those 3 emperors by herself. In such a long time, although the Empress's strength has grown tremendously. But similarly, the strength of the three great emperors will never decline. Therefore, this matter is not as simple as you think. What do you mean, senior brother Nai? For a moment, all the disciples were silent. They didn't expect that Nai Chen would actually want to compromise. Of course I think. Nai Chen suddenly clenched his fists and raised his arms. It's none of my business whether they are strong or not. If they dare to bully the Empress, they are just riding on the head of Tianyun Palace to go to the toilet. I must kill them. I will overthrow the three emperors and kick their heads like balls. Brother Nai is right. Sure enough, Brother Nai thinks the same as us. Brother has lived up to our expectations. Hum him. Hum him. As long as Tianyun Palace is still there, all of us are willing to die for the Empress forever. In an instant, the crowd was excited and the atmosphere became extremely warm. Ding, feel the common will of the disciples of Tianyun Palace. The three emperors joined forces to seriously injure the Empress 100 years ago, and now they still covet the power of Tianyun Palace. As a wife-protecting maniac, how can the host endure it? Now release a long-term task, kill the three emperors and avenge the Qingyu Empress. Mission reward, mysterious treasure box, and each emperor has his own reward. At this moment, the system voice suddenly sounded, and the mechanical cold voice seemed to carry a bit of indignation. Long-term mission. But it is true that this mission is indeed a little more difficult for me at the moment. It seems that before the three emperors take the lead in attacking, I must rely on the system to quickly improve my strength so that I can have enough strength to confront the emperor. Nai Chen took this task without hesitation. Dare to touch my wife? Even the King of Heaven can't do it. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 84. Old Third, did you buy it? Yes, I risked my life to buy it. You must be careful, in case the slightest word leaks out. It's not just me, everyone will be finished. I understand. But I didn't expect that you, Old Third, are so well connected that you can actually buy it. Hush, finish reading first, I've been waiting for this book to be released for a whole year. In the room where the disciples stayed, three young disciples closed the doors and windows furtively and lit the dim candle light. Everyone had a hint of nervousness and infinite expectations on their faces. It seemed that the scroll in Wang Old Third's hand was a precious thing that made people yearn for it. The scroll slowly opened, and the breathing of the three people began to become a little rapid. But at this moment, "Boss, stop touching me." "Who touched you?" "There is nothing wrong with my sexual orientation." "No, why are you touching me, brother San?" "Bullshit, it was obviously brother number 2 who did it." The three suddenly realized that something was wrong and turned their heads. A figure was standing behind them calmly. In an instant, the three were almost scared to death, their bodies trembled suddenly, and they retreated subconsciously. "Nai, senior brother Nai!" Wang Laosan exclaimed, his hands trembling a little. Nai Chen is a dignified deacon disciple. If he finds out about this, he will be completely finished. "Senior brother Nai, please don't tell anyone. If you tell this to others, we will all be expelled from Tianyun Hall." Wang Laosan cried and begged. Nai Chen frowned slightly, "What on earth are you looking at?" He originally found out that the state of these disciples was not right, so he followed quietly in. But judging from the situation, things don't seem as simple as imagined. Could it be a pornographic book? Of course not. Wang Laosan quickly presented the scroll with both hands. What we secretly read was actually the latest version of the alluring book. The alluring book. Yes, the alluring book is updated once a year. It records the top 30 alluring women in the world. Although there are portraits of 30 women on it, the alluring book is definitely a formal publication and is widely circulated in the world. However, because the Empress has always banned the matter of Taoist partners, the alluring book is considered a banned item in Tianyuan Palace. Oh? Is that so? Nai Chen took the alluring book, looked at the exquisite cover full of book fragrance, and said, I cannot expose you, but there is a condition. Brother Nai, please tell me, as long as you don't tell anyone, anything is fine. Not only Wang Lao-san, but the other two also begged one after another. Well, very good, then this book of alluring books belongs to me. Wang Lao-san, you seem to be very familiar with the book of alluring books, come and explain it to me. Nai Chen spread the book of alluring books flat on the table and slowly opened it. Soon, the contents of the book of alluring books appeared in front of everyone. The names of the beauties were written on it, as well as the corresponding text records. Most of them also had very realistic portraits. So you, senior brother Nai, are such a person. Wang Lao-san suddenly felt that he had lost a lot of money, and he never thought that Nai Chen was also a fellow traveler. The price of the book of alluring books was ridiculously expensive, which was equivalent to his spiritual stone salary for half a year. But now, it was too late to regret. He could only feel pain in his heart and sit beside Nai Chen with the other three disciples, hoping to see more of the book of alluring books. A flame fell on the candle, and suddenly, the candlelight became much brighter. Nai Chen looked at the contents of the book of alluring books. It recorded the top 30 women who were rated as the most beautiful in the world today. Among them, there are quite a few familiar faces. For example, the 27th one is Xu Xiongdi, the third princess of the Yufeng dynasty, who was rescued by him twice in succession. The 16th one is Yao Menjiun, the sister of the Saint of Flowers, who was beaten up by him and her Tao heart was damaged. As for the 12th one, I didn't expect that the Saint Envoy Kongshuang is ranked so high. Nai Chen said curiously. In his impression, Shen Kongshuang has always been a simple and even a little silly character. So for such a long time, he just regarded her as a good brother with a not very smart brain, and never paid attention to her appearance. Saint Envoy Kongshuang is ranked 12th in the Allure book for her heroic and valiant appearance, which is completely different from the temperament of ordinary weak women, and her outstanding appearance. Although it is a little controversial, it is indeed worthy of the name. Wang Lao-san talked freely, and seemed to be very proficient. Nai Chen, it sounds like you know a lot. Of course, since I was 3 years old, there has been no year that I haven't read the Allure book. Wang Lao-san raised his head proudly. The ranking of the Saint of Flowers was also very high, reaching the 3rd place. Nai Chen continued to look up, and soon, he smiled. The 2nd place in the alluring book was the Empress Qingyu. As expected of my wife, she is ranked 2nd in the alluring book that includes all the women in the world. Nai Chen secretly admired in his heart. But soon, his brows slightly frowned. Among the 30 beautiful women recorded in the alluring book, 29 of them, including Empress Qingyu, all have exquisitely painted portraits. But only this 1st place, not only there is no written record, there is not even any portrait. There is only a name that seems to carry a hint of bookish fairy air, Mizu Fairy. Why is there no record of Mizu Fairy in the Qing Cheng book? Nai Chen looked at Wang Lao-san. Wang Lao-san immediately explained, Brother Nai, you don't know that Fairy Mizu has actually ascended to the fairyland. Ascended to the fairyland? Yes. Wang Lao-san's eyes revealed an extremely yearning feeling. As early as 1,000 years ago, Fairy Mizu had already left Lanchuan continent and ascended to the fairyland. But according to the 1,000-year-old predecessors, the beauty of Fairy Mizu is unimaginable. Flawless skin, independent of the world. Every frown and smile can move people's hearts. As lotus steps go by, The fragrance carried by her body is even more fragrant, like orchid, intoxicating. So that she was directly recognized by the heavenly Deo, and even without practicing, she took beauty as the way, obtained the recognition of the heavenly Deo, and ascended to the fairy land. So even though 1,000 years have passed, until now, the first place in this alluring book is still reserved for Fairy Mizu. This. Nai-Chen was speechless. Originally, his system could be called the most buggy existence in the world, but he never expected that there would be such an outrageous thing. Without even any practice, this Mizu fairy ascended to the immortal realm directly with her beauty as her path. This can no longer be described as a bug, it is simply outrageous. Could it be that the gods these days also act based on appearance? Nai-Chen could not figure out how beautiful this Mizu fairy was. Shock, the love letter was sent to the empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 85. Returning to the room, Nai-Chen hid the book of allure under the bed and sat cross-legged on the bed, adjusting his breath. The blow brought by the rumors about the fairy Mizu was too great for him. He finally awakened the system, a template for the protagonist. What happened to her? She was even more cheating than cheating. If I were the protagonist, what would be better than the protagonist? Could she be the author? Ridiculous. When my cultivation breaks through the realm of calamity and ascends to the fairyland, I must see how beautiful the fairy Mizu is. Facing the 3 emperors who may attack at any time, improving strength has become the top priority. Nai-Chen calmed down and began to count his gains in recent days. In addition to the lower grade magic weapons, elixirs, and spiritual herbs that he had cheated and robbed, the most precious ones are the 3 emperors' seal in the 3 emperors' tomb, the 2 veins of the Xiangu saint body opened by it, the sword nirvana of Emperor Honghui, and the 10,000 thunders transformation technique inherited by the emperor. Of course, there is also the source whose use is unknown, and the dragon yin-yang pill. Wait, if these 2 things can be combined together. Nai-Chen suddenly had an idea. Although the strength of these treasures is strong enough, there is still room for improvement. Without any hesitation, he directly took out the 3 emperors' seal with golden light flowing. Holding the 3 emperors' seal in his left hand, Nai-Chen slightly clenched his right hand into a claw, and there were thunder and lightning mixed with terrifying power. These thunders are the 10,000 thunders transformation technique evolved by Emperor Lei Yan with all his inheritance. The power of the 3 emperors' seal is indeed not weak, but no matter what, it is only created by an emperor-level strongman. Only by borrowing external forces can it become more powerful. So, if the 2 are combined into one. Nai-Chen concentrated his mind and calmed his breath, slowly emitting the pure spiritual energy of the Xiangu saint body. At the same time, it was integrated into the 10,000 thunders transformed into one art and the 3 emperors' great seal. At the beginning, the 2 were completely repelled and unwilling to give in to each other. But the golden spiritual energy of the Xiangu saint body seemed to become a hub of communication, constantly connecting the 2. As time went on, the lightning began to become more violent, and the seal was constantly shaking. During the fight between the 2 objects, a golden light kept flowing back and forth. Crack! The 10,000 thunders transformed into one art split into a purple lightning, which struck the 3 emperors' great seal fiercely. The originally solid jade seal was forcibly struck with a shallow mark, but at the same time, the golden light flowed back into the lightning. It actually made the restless purple thunder gradually calm down. Crack, crack, crack. The lightning flashed, and the golden air was hazy. Although the lightning continued to damage the 3 emperors' great seal, it also reduced the anger of both sides. Seeing that there were no less than 100 scars on the 3 emperors' seal, the anger of the 10,000 thunders transformed into one art finally subsided. The lightning was no longer as violent as before, but just flowed into the 3 emperors' seal from afar like a little snake. Not only could it not leave scars on it, but it also communicated with the 2 along with the golden light. It's time. Nai-Chen's eyes condensed, and he immediately seized this fleeting opportunity. The second meridian of the Xiangu Saint body. The extremely yin energy quickly wrapped around the two objects, and the extremely cold breath stimulated both at the same time. At the same time, the golden light suddenly grew and turned into a smooth light path that ran through it. As the extremely yin energy continued to shrink, the distance between the three emperor's seal and the 10,000 thunders transformed into one art also quickly approached. At this moment, Nai-Chen suddenly clasped his hands together, and the power around him was completely gathered, leaving no spare energy. Flames, golden rays, extremely yin energy, countless spiritual energies turned into bridges, communicating with each other while forcibly squeezing the two together. Boom! Suddenly, strange phenomena occurred. The flames and heat waves that erupted quickly rose from Nai-Chen's body, and at the same time, the lightning that had finally calmed down struggled violently. Merge them together for me. Nai-Chen gritted his teeth and clenched his hands fiercely. Boom! Amidst the incomparable loud noise, the 10,000 thunders transformed into one art was forcibly pressed together with the three emperor's seal. The majestic spiritual energy roared one after another, turning into aftermath, constantly invading Nai-Chen's body and the entire house. The house shook violently, and it was obviously difficult to withstand such a huge impact. But at this moment, Nai-Chen no longer cared. Suppress. Bang. Suppress again. Bang. Suddenly, golden light filled Nai-Chen's entire body. Even his eyes were emitting a sacred glow. Faintly, accompanied by the majestic thunder, it seemed as if there was a dragon's roar. The golden light that completely illuminated the entire house gathered on Nai-Chen's right hand. This palm was mixed with endless mysterious and violent power. Boom! Like a loud sound of a mountain collapse and cracking rocks, with one palm, the 10,000 thunders into one art was forcibly integrated into the jade seal. Even though the lightning of different colors still tried to resist, it still couldn't break free. Nai-Chen slowed down his offensive and continuously integrated the gentle spiritual energy into the three emperor's seal. With the injection of these mysterious spiritual energies, the thunder art, which was gradually integrated with the jade seal, began to become more docile. Although each lightning still contained a terrifying sense of oppression, they did not resist anymore. The power of the lightning was still there, but it was given to the three emperor's seal, making the combination of the two even more powerful. Success. Under the sunlight, the three emperor's seal, which was originally emerald green with golden light, was now mixed with a touch of lavender lightning. This lightning made the jade seal, which was originally slightly gentle, become completely impossible to despise. Nai-Chen could clearly feel the rolling power hidden in the jade seal. At this moment, the three emperor's seal, which was combined with the 10,000 thunders into one art, was completely incomparable in strength. The inheritance of the three great saints, plus the lifelong inheritance of a great emperor, were integrated into one. Just thinking about it, you can feel how terrible it is. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully completing a leapfrog upgrade of the three emperor's seal. The host completes the wishes of the three emperors, gets rewards, and turns on the system's pick up the wool function. Pick up the wool. Nai-Chen was stunned. The first awakened function of the system gets rewards by directly impacting or damaging the enemy's Dao heart. As for this pick up the wool function, ding, the stronger the target of pick up the wool, the richer the reward. The system prompts that the host can get rewards by touching the heart of the empress. So that's what it means. Nai-Chen's heart was instantly delighted. If this function is used, it will probably be more convenient than the first one. More importantly, the wool on the empress is all the best quality wool. Shock, the love letter was sent to the empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 86. In the bedroom, looking at Nai-Chen walking towards him with a subtle smile on his lips, Chu Qingyu suddenly felt a little panic. You, What do you want to do? Although Nai Chen often did extreme things such as holding hands and kissing, this time, the situation seemed to be obviously worse. There was no one around, and the door to the bedroom was firmly closed by Nai Chen. This situation is really wrong. Don't worry, honey, I just want to do something comfortable for you. Nai Chen slowly approached with a smile. Comfortable things. Impossible, it is absolutely impossible for this emperor to do such a thing. And, but. For a moment, Chu Qingyu felt that her mind was in chaos, hesitating and couldn't explain at all. In short, it's absolutely not allowed now. Don't worry, I'm very skilled at it. However, Nai Chen was already completely approaching and stretched out his sinful palm. Don't want. Chu Qingyu was so embarrassed and angry that her cheeks were covered in blush. She wanted to resist, but found that Nai Chen's hand had already pressed on her shoulder. Wait, shoulders. Chu Qingyu was stunned, and in an instant, her consciousness recovered a lot. But soon, she felt a sense of relief coming from her shoulders. High-end shoulder rubbing methods only require the simplest techniques. Nai Chen would rather give the system 3 skill points, but he also improved the shoulder rubbing technique to a great perfection. In exchange, he got the best shoulder rubbing technique in the world. I can't guarantee anything else, but there is absolutely no one in this world who can rub shoulders more comfortably than Nai Chen. Sometimes kneading, sometimes knocking, sometimes circling the joints. Chu Qingyu's original sullenness completely dissipated, and she was completely immersed in this technique, which was enough to relieve any fatigue. It was as if all the fatigue had been removed, and at this moment, only an endless sense of comfort remained. It feels like you are in a clear river, washing away all the fatigue on your body, making you feel happy and sleepy. And at this time, ding, I successfully harvested Queen Qingyu's wool. Skill point add 1. That's add 1. Nai Chen was overjoyed. You know, a strong Xianyuan realm monk can barely provide a skill point. But after just pinching his shoulder a few times, he actually got a skill point. This is also a great deal. Isn't this going to take away everything that can be taken from my wife? As a result, Nai Chen's techniques became more skillful, orderly, and appropriate. Ding, I successfully harvested Queen Qingyu's wool, skill point add 1. Ding, I successfully harvested Queen Qingyu's wool, skill point add 1. Ding, get a piece of Xian level magic weapon of your choice. Ding, get an optional earth level skill. 3 earth level skills can be merged into 1 heaven level skill. Nai Chen's eyes sparkled with light, and he used the supreme secret of rubbing his shoulders, the lightning poison dragon diamond. Using the phalanges as the axis, use all your strength to point directly at the most critical joints at the shoulders and elbows. Then, turn hard. Hey dot. Accompanied by Chu Qingyu's extremely comfortable sigh, a sound came from the system. After harvesting a large amount of empress wool, the host was successfully promoted to the middle stage of Xianyuan realm. Now there are 27 skill points left. As expected of Empress Qingyu. As expected of my wife. So far, there is no reward obtained from my wife that is not extremely precious. If I had to work hard all night, I might not be directly promoted to the sea opening realm by tomorrow. However, Nai Chen knew the principle of relaxation and relaxation. Although it feels good to gather wool, if it upsets my wife once, it won't be so easy next time. So, it's better to stop here and wait until next time to continue. Thinking of this, Nai Chen retracted his hand. Chu Qingyu, who was closing her eyes lightly, as if lying on the green grass, with a soft and comfortable feeling all over her body, suddenly felt a sense of emptiness on her shoulders. The feeling of comfort that seemed to drive away all fatigue suddenly disappeared. Suddenly, she turned her head and glanced at Nai Chen with some resentment. Ahem, wifey, I really didn't mean to pick on you, I'm leaving now. Nai-Chen felt a little guilty and quickly withdrew his hand, planning to leave, etc. But Chu Qingyu bit her lip lightly and called him with a hint of blush on her cheeks. Wife. Nai-Chen was slightly confused. What this emperor means is. Chu Qingyu's eyes were evasive, and she seemed to have made a lot of determination before she finally uttered two words in a small, almost undetectable voice. Continue, continue. Nai-Chen was stunned. Continue. Are these two words sure to come from the mouth of His Majestic Empress Qingyu? But the reality seems to be, that's it? It could make the Empress put down her guard, but it was a good opportunity that she would never encounter on ordinary days. Nai-Chen immediately seized this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and smiled slightly. It's okay to continue, but pinching the shoulders is very tiring. Wife, you have to express something, right? What does it mean? That's right, just call me Mr. Chu. After all, my wife, you haven't called me an affectionate name for so long. How is it possible? Chu Qingyu suddenly felt her cheeks feel hot. How could I, as a majestic empress, be able to utter such shameful words? Hey, in this case, there's nothing I can do. After all, if you don't even have motivation, where will the strength come from? Nai-Chen sighed, retracted his hand, and made a move to leave. Wait a moment. Feeling the empty shoulders, Chu Qingyu suddenly couldn't help but hug Nai-Chen. What? It's just two words, I just said it. She expressed her dissatisfaction slightly and loudly. The fingertips sank into the palm of her hand, and Chu Qingyu tried her best to control her shame. Even though his cheeks were as smooth as snow, his voice was still unclear and trembling slightly, as if he had suffered great grievances. I don't know how long it took before I finally said intermittently. Mr. Sir, continue. What kind of tiger wolf talk is this? Looking at Chu Qingyu's affectionate, slightly resentful autumn eyes, and her soft voice that was shy and even slightly trembling, Nai-Chen's body couldn't help but tremble. If others heard this, they would think that they had done something beastly. Ahem, honey, calm down, I'll continue. Nai-Chen coughed twice, quickly put his hand on her shoulder again, and once again spent 3 skill points to improve the shoulder rubbing technique to a level far beyond perfection. So far, his shoulder squeezing technique has spanned the past and present, across the world, and even across the vast stars, and there is no rival. In the whole world, even in the whole world, Nai-Chen must be respected in this world's shoulder squeezing technique. 2 hours later, Nai-Chen walked out of the palace after looking at Empress Qingyu, who was leaning softly on the chair. Host, Nai-Chen. Realm, middle stage of Xianyuan realm. Current skill points, 50. You can choose any heaven level technique *1. Unlock the third line of the Suangu holy body. This is the ultimate in shearing wool. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 87. The third vein of the Xiangu saint body has the characteristic of absorption. In addition to being immune to a certain degree of magic attacks, the most powerful ability is to make other physiques its own. However, it seems that there is almost no physique in the world that can match the Xiangu saint body, and there are even fewer that I can take a fancy to. As for the heavenly level skills that were obtained by taking advantage of others, Nai-Chen turned over the page shining with golden light in his sea of consciousness. Suddenly, a steady stream of information poured into his mind. This skill is called Mind Magic Appearance. Generally speaking, only those who have reached the level of Huading realm and some extremely powerful people with peak cultivation in the Pi High realm can summon the Dharma appearance. But this skill can release the Dharma appearance by collecting it. Although its power is far less than that of the real Dharma appearance, it is still terrifying enough. Inner demon? Does it mean to collect other people's inferiority or various negative emotions? Nai Chen immediately walked out of the house, grabbed an honest young disciple and asked, "Am I handsome?" "Handsome?" While speaking, looking at Nai Chen's handsome appearance and the unique charm of the Xiangu saint body, the young disciple felt inferior and suddenly felt that his life seemed to be lived in vain. Number of times the inner demon image is released, 1/100. Not bad. The vicinity of Tianyun Hall is full of Tianjiao disciples who practice seriously, especially in front of the statue of the Empress. Many people sit on the ground and practice hard. Nai Chen picked the most serious disciples. "Am I handsome?" "Handsome." "Senior brother Nai is so handsome." "Senior brother Nai is the most handsome in the world." On weekdays, these disciples often praised Nai Chen. But for some reason, after this time, they suddenly felt empty in their hearts and were instantly filled with inferiority. Seeing senior brother Nai who was so handsome, I wanted to find a steep cliff and jump off. Number of times the magic form of the mind was released, 12/100. Number of times the magic form of the mind was released, 18/100. I heard that senior brother Nai was preaching in front of the statue of the Empress and asked questions from the soul. All the disciples who were asked were devoted to cultivation and said nothing. They were deeply moved by brother Nai Chen. "Oh my God, senior brother Nai's preaching. You can't miss it." More and more disciples rushed to the statue of the Empress. But after they heard Nai Chen's questions from the soul, they all had sad faces and fell into self-doubt in their lives. Even Duan Mu Yang came over. "Brother Nai, what question are you asking?" "Nai Chen, there is only one question, who is more handsome, you or me?" "He, so that's the question." Duan Mu Yang immediately smiled flatteringly. "Brother Nai is definitely handsome, even in the entire Tianyun Palace, he is enough to rank second." Nai Chen frowned, "What about first place?" Of course it's me." Bang. The next moment, the disciples saw Duan Mu Yang's body flying high, falling heavily, and crashing to the ground. Duan Mu Yang was actually beaten by brother Nai. Tisk tisk tisk, even brother Nai is not interested in teaching, Duan Mu Yang is really hopeless. But what thought-provoking question did brother Nai ask? I want to listen to. The disciples who didn't know the truth had a discussion. Number of times the mind magic phase is released, 100/100. In a blink of an eye, the conditions for releasing the mind magic phase have been met once. Senior brother Nai looked at the large number of disciples who were pouring in nearby, with a smile on his face. All the people present could be used to fleece. So, after a while, the male disciples were so self-abased that they wanted to cover their faces and not dare to see anyone again. Even the female disciples were ashamed of themselves, fearing that Nai Chen would see their ugly selves again. Number of times the mind magical appearance can be released, 200/100. After a while, the mind magical appearance could be released twice. Fellow Daoist Nai Chen is really in a good mood, why don't you ask me too? At this moment, a pleasant voice suddenly sounded, and then a beautiful figure flew from the horizon. The golden and soft long skirt fluttered in the wind, and the graceful figure was slender and graceful. The curve outlined by the golden long skirt could be described as perfect. More importantly, the holy breath like a god made people inadvertently feel respect and closeness. Saintess. The disciples of Tianyun Hall bowed slightly to show respect. After all, Saintess Fanhua not only has a high status, but is also the only good friend of Empress Qingyu. Even if Empress Qingyu does not admit this fact, the disciples of the sect still know it. Especially at the grand ceremony of Saintess Fanhua a few days ago, Saintess Fanhua made it clear that if the three emperors join forces to have ideas about Empress Qingyu, she is willing to help Tianyun Hall. It can be seen that the friendship between Saintess Fanhua and Empress Qingyu is much deeper than it seems on the surface. However, Nai Chen did not show respect like others. On the contrary, he smiled slightly. Saintess Fanhua is here to eat dog food again. Dog food? What dog food? The disciples were stunned at the same time, not understanding what Nai Chen meant. What are you talking about, fellow deist Nai Chen? I am not a puppy, how can I eat dog food? The Saint of Flowers was not angry. She smiled softly, but her eyes were full of affection. She looked at Nai Chen with a look of undisguised coquettishness. The meaning of this look was so obvious that most of the disciples noticed it. Could it be that the Saint of Flowers' look is? How is it possible? The disciples were stunned and their heads were buzzing. After all, the saint's holy image was deeply rooted in people's hearts. Although she was not as cold and arrogant as the empress, no man could easily approach her. But now the attitude shown by the saint to senior brother Nai was too ambiguous. Could it be that senior brother Nai's handsomeness could even infect the saint? Hiss, we are not familiar with each other, please don't look at me with that look. Facing the ambiguous look of the Saint of Flowers, Nai Chen took a half step back and stretched out his hand to express his alienation. After all, if this saint girl has bad intentions and deliberately frames me, my wife will be jealous and I will have to be washed on the washboard. How ruthless, you have always been so gentle to someone. Seeing Nai Chen's attitude, the Saint Girl of Flowers pouted slightly in anger, and the contrast was unexpectedly very cute. But looking in the direction of Tianyuan Palace, the Saint Girl of Flowers suddenly coughed lightly, and her charming eyes quickly left Nai Chen. Forget it, King Yu seems to be angry soon, I won't say more to you. She hurriedly stepped lightly on the lotus steps and walked towards the direction of Tianyuan Palace. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 88. In Tianyuan Palace, as soon as they met Chu Qingyu, the flower saintess made her intentions clear. You are saying that Xu Xian, the crown prince of the Yufeng dynasty, plans to collude with Emperor Lei Yan to help him obtain the power of the Yufeng dynasty as soon as possible. In return, he has begun to launch a plan for Tianyuan Palace. Chu Qingyu's eyes flickered, and a cold air filled the hall. Although Emperor Lei Yan did not take action personally on the surface, he secretly used methods to try to collude with the Yufeng dynasty again. Although for an ant like Xu Xian who regarded himself as arrogant, even if he was thousands of miles away, he could only kill him with a fingertip. But standing behind him is now the conspiracy laid out by the entire Yufeng dynasty and the three great emperors. At this moment, it was obviously not suitable for him to take action. That's right, so now we need a candidate with just the right status to go to the Yufeng dynasty and break Xu Xian's plan. At least, erase it first. The Blossom Saint thought for a moment and responded. Chu Qingyu, who is this candidate you are talking about? Nai Chen, of course, I think he is the most suitable. Chu Qingyu thought for a moment. Nai Chen? I didn't expect your judgment to be so accurate this time. At present, there is indeed no one more suitable than Nai Chen. Not only does his status as an outer disciple allow him to enter and leave the Yufeng dynasty at will, but even if he kills Xu Xian, it won't involve too much. What's more important is that among his peers, Nai Chen is the only one who can fight with Xu Xian. That's natural. I'm still very discerning. The flower saint raised her head slightly proudly. However, before she could finish feeling proud, Chu Qingyu's chilling voice suddenly came. These things don't matter, but can you explain to me what happened to your ambiguous looks and words to Nai Chen outside Tianyuan Palace just now? As soon as he finished speaking, Nai Chen happened to walk into Tianyuan Palace. Upon hearing this, Nai Chen was immediately stunned. Wait, did you come at the wrong time? The situation in front of him seemed extremely bad, and Nai Chen immediately wanted to turn around and leave. But before he could turn around, the flower saint looked pitiful and even explained with a hint of tears. Sister Qingyu, don't get me wrong. Although brother Nai-Chen gave me candy and accidentally held my hand, he even said that he was devoted to me and would only love me in his life. But his heart for you, sister, has really not changed. Woo-hoo-hoo, it's all my fault for accidentally capturing brother Nai-Chen's heart. Sister, if you are angry, just punish me, but brother, he has done nothing wrong. Please don't embarrass brother Nai-Chen. What the hell? Nai-Chen's movements stopped instantly, as if there were thousands of ponies running through his heart. What's going on? Which medicine did Flower Saint Maiden take incorrectly in her obvious green tea statement? Holy crap! Wife, don't believe it, this is a naked frame-up. Let alone eating sweets and holding hands, I have never met the Flower Saint before. Before Nai-Chen could finish his explanation, a bone-chilling chill filled the hall. Immediately, his body was completely out of control, and the cold wind howled around him, like a giant hand, firmly grabbing Nai-Chen and bringing him to Chu Qingyu. When passing the Blossom Saint, Nai-Chen even noticed a playful smile on her lips. This woman has ulterior motives and is obviously trying to frame herself. Honey, you are wronged. Nai-Chen had never been so speechless. Looking at Chu Qingyu's cold eyes, he clearly felt it. If my wife is really angry, the consequences this time will be terrible. Unjustly accused. Of course I know that what she said was all false. Far beyond Nai-Chen's imagination, Chu Qingyu said slowly as they looked at each other. Nai-Chen was stunned and suddenly became confused. Then, wife, what do you want to do by bringing me here? Humph, I'm giving you an advantage. Chu Qingyu hummed, and suddenly, her soft, watery lips kissed Nai-Chen. Nai-Chen was stunned for a moment when the soft touch and breath came, and his brain reacted instantly. When it comes to this, he is no longer sleepy. It's so cheap, he can make money all day and night by changing his tricks. Wife, you don't have enough control, leave it to me. Nai-Chen gently held Chu Qingyu's waist and tilted her body slightly at just the right angle. I just want to prove something to her, don't go too far. Chu Qingyu's cheeks were like gurgling water under the afterglow, with a hint of crystal clear blush. Don't worry, leave it to me. She is just a flower saint. Doesn't my wife just want her to know that my wife is only you? Nai-Chen smiled and spoke without hesitation. After a long time, the two finally separated slowly. Nai-Chen looked at Chu Qingyu's glowing eyes and asked with a smile. Honey, did you eat orchids today? Why do they smell so good? How can there be? Oh, I remembered, honey, you always smell so good. Real. But Chu Qingyu suddenly said, so, I feel that you are also taking advantage of the situation. No, how could I, a grown man, possibly? Nai-Chen was stunned. Really? Then maybe I was wrong. Let me try again. After a long while, looking at Chu Qingyu's affectionate eyes, Nai-Chen coughed twice. Wife, you are too proactive today. It would be better if it could always be like this. Humph. After I take the initiative, will I let you find another woman? Impossible. The world is big, but my wife is the most important. Now when I look at other women, I am as pure as a monk. I don't even bother to look at them more. You are so talkative, but you don't take any practical action. I think it's not suitable for children. The sounds of flirting came one after another. In the hall, only the Saint of Flowers stood there stupidly, feeling a sour nose. This time, she was not tied to the tree with a belly band stuffed in her mouth like last time. But what's the difference between this and being tied? After eating a full bowl of dog food, she couldn't walk even if she wanted to. Is it too much? I had wanted to sow discord, but I didn't expect that these two people were not affected at all, but became even worse. Is this good? This is not good. This is a naked threat to the majority of singles. Moreover, the one who did all this was Empress King Yu, who once wrote the theory of the uselessness of Taoist companions and led to the anti-Taoist companion alliance all over the world. Woo woo woo, this is too much. At this moment, Saint Fanhua wanted to cry but had no tears, and suddenly realized that the clown was actually herself. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 89. After spreading a lot of dog food, Chu Qingyu finally licked her slightly moist lips and told Nai Chen about the possible alliance between the three emperors and Shu Xian. Shu Xian. Even though he had no grudges in the past and no grudges these days, Nai Chen would never show mercy to this boy who dared to collude with the three emperors. By the way, I remember one more thing. The flower saint suddenly said. I heard reliable rumors that Shu Xian has always admired Empress King Yu, and always thought that Empress King Yu also admired him. He even spread the statement everywhere without any scruples, threatening that sooner or later he would set foot in Tianyuan Palace to marry Empress King Yu. Is everything you said true? Of course, Shu Xian even rumored that the Empress had shown mercy to him, and she must have secretly fallen in love with him. Could it be that this kid's brain is broken? Still showing mercy? I'm afraid I'm not laughing at you. Nai Chen was instantly motivated, and his body was filled with murderous aura. How dare you miss your wife and spread rumors? If I don't push you to the ground and beat you up with a hammer, I wouldn't even be named Nai. Nai Chen suddenly approached the flower saint and asked. One more thing, this Shu Xian, is he handsome? A bit handsome. He himself has the blood of the royal family and is blessed by the true body of enlightenment. Looking at the entire world, I am afraid they can be ranked at the top. There are also many female monks who have a crush on him. Good guy. Nai Chen became more determined, and his sandbag-sized fists couldn't help but clench tightly. For the three crimes combined, taking off his head and kicking it like a ball wouldn't be too much. I'm going to book the Yufeng dynasty, no one can stop me. Nai Chen slapped the table with murderous intent. You are indeed the most suitable candidate, but Shu Xian carries the true body of enlightenment and is the inheritor of the Yufeng dynasty's great fortune. There is more to him than meets the eye. You must be extremely careful during this trip. Chu Qingyu stepped forward and stretched out her delicate jade hands. Show me your storage ring, and I'll see if the magic pills you carry are enough. For some reason, Nai Chen suddenly felt that his wife did care about him. But it seems that he is also using this excuse to check his private money. But it doesn't matter, anyway, except for the extremely mysterious and precious source hidden on the body, there is nothing shameful in the storage ring. Nai Chen handed the storage ring to Chu Qingyu without hesitation. Among them were the heavenly nirvana, and some not so precious magic weapons and elixirs that Nai Chen had snatched from other monks. Although some of the earth-level magic weapons obtained from the system are still precious, they are naturally unlikely to be taken seriously by the Empress. But among them, Chu Qingyu found a strange red pill with dragon patterns engraved on it. It faintly exudes majestic yang energy, like a burning fire, and a dragon's roar comes from it. It is obviously of extremely high grade. No, the quality of this elixir may even have reached the heaven level. The value of heaven-level elixirs is self-evident. Even Tianyuan Palace, which is so powerful, has very few heaven-level elixirs. For many sects, a heaven-level elixir is enough to be passed down from generation to generation as a sect-suppressing treasure. What exactly is a heavenly elixir that looks like this? Chu Qingyu was confused and filtered through her mind the alchemy books she had read. Many books are engraved in her mind, and she can easily remember them with just a little recall. But when she scanned the last few pages of the complete book of alchemy, Chu Qingyu's cheeks suddenly felt hot, and her hand holding the red pill trembled slightly. No wonder the yang energy emitted from this elixir is so majestic. No wonder Nai Chen would carefully hide it in the deepest part of the space ring. It turns out that this is the rumored Longian aphrodisiac pill. And it's a grade that reaches the heaven level, an extremely precious one. You actually hide this kind of elixir. Chu Qingyu couldn't help but take a step back, her face flushed with embarrassment, and she looked at Nai Chen with a complicated look. You are indeed greedy for my body. What kind of elixir, Nai Chen never expected that he would forget this question. In addition, the flower saint is still nearby, and this scene is simply a large-scale social death scene. Nai Chen's mind was buzzing and he quickly explained. Honey, this is just an accident. I really didn't plan to use this elixir on you. But Chu Qingyu gritted her teeth and became even more embarrassed and angry. Are you still planning to take this pill to deal with other women? Honey, you are driving again. I'm afraid there's not a man in the world who wouldn't want the dragon's yin aphrodisiac pill, which has reached the heaven level. Especially when faced with a wife who is as cold as an iceberg, no one can conquer her, if the time comes she has such a heart. But now, this elixir cannot be saved. Nai Chen could only sigh distressedly. Then what to do with this elixir? I leave it to my wife to take full control of it. That's pretty much it. Chu Qingyu took out a small wooden box and threw the Longjian Yang Yang pill into it. Then, with a slight hum, he seemingly casually threw it into the space ring. Nai Chen was stunned, and he didn't expect that Chu Qingyu didn't destroy it. Wife, what are you doing? Wait, let's wait until later. I don't want to see such a vulgar pill now. Chu Qingyu curled her lips slightly and turned her head away with an evasive look. Let's talk about it later? Wait, what do you mean, wife? Nai Chen smiled and took 2 steps forward, gently holding Chu Qingyu's shoulders, her delicate body as soft as water. Wife, I won't leave today, let's consummate our marriage tonight. Get lost. But the next moment, Nai Chen was kicked out of Tianyun Hall by Chu Qingyu, who was ashamed and angry. Although this kick seemed to be powerful, it was deliberately wrapped with spiritual power and did not hurt Nai Chen at all. Sure enough, my wife is cold on the outside but warm on the inside. His body landed lightly outside the hall, and Nai Chen patted his butt and stood up. In order to get the Longjian Yang pill back. No, in order to use the Longjian Yang pill, Shu Xian must die. Outside the Tianyun Hall, all the disciples were shocked to see Nai Chen being kicked out, and hurriedly stepped forward to ask. Brother Nai, what happened to you? Did you anger the empress? No, it's just that the elixir I hid was discovered by the empress. Nai Chen stretched his waist and said calmly. Elixir? Could it be that you hid the magic elixir? Of course not, why would I hide that thing? Could it be a bloodthirsty elixir that overdrafts life and increases strength in a short period of time? No. Could it be? Nai Chen, don't guess, it's an elixir that the empress also likes. The empress also likes it? Forget it, it's not suitable for children. Nai Chen waved his hand and ignored the disciples. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 90. Yufeng Dynasty. At the gate of the most prosperous Wanping city, which is very close to the royal capital, 2 soldiers guarding the city were checking the passers-by. The prince said that from today on, the entire Yufeng dynasty will be at odds with Nai Chen. As long as Nai Chen is found entering the dynasty's sphere of influence, he will be killed without mercy. A soldier held a portrait in his hand and scanned the passers-by one by one. He is also a monk in the Yuan building realm. As a monk in the Yuan building realm, his status is among ordinary soldiers, and he has a bright future. According to common sense, they should have been pampered and cared for by mortal soldiers as uncles, and they would not be able to do the drudgery of guarding the gate. But things have been different lately. Since the prince returned from the grand ceremony in the Flower Holy Land, Nai Chen's name has been wanted throughout the Yufeng dynasty, and his portraits have even been distributed to various towns. The value of the bounty on Nai-Chen's head actually reached 10,000 spirit stones. That's a spiritual stone. 10,000 coins, even if a person squanders them for several lifetimes, he may not be able to spend them all. If I can get the prince's appreciation for this, my future will definitely be limitless. The two soldiers stared at everyone passing by with their eyes wide open. Although this work is hard, if you can catch Nai-Chen, it will be enough for you to completely turn over and enjoy glory and wealth for the rest of your life. But under the scorching sun, they saw a steady stream of people pouring into the city. The two soldiers were sweating from the heat, and their backs ached, but they could not find a suspicious candidate. By the way, can we still wait for Nai-Chen? A soldier leaned on his waist sadly and held up the portrait. Hey, it might be a little difficult. However, as long as Nai-Chen comes, it will be too easy to recognize him. Another soldier pointed playfully at the portrait. The Nai-Chen depicted in the portrait has 3 heads and 6 arms, a ferocious face, and 4 sharp fangs. His face was full of beards and he was ugly and embarrassed. Brothers, are you sure this is Nai-Chen? At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from beside them. The two soldiers were startled. They did not expect that someone could approach them quietly. What the hell? In just a moment, both of them exclaimed at the same time. There was no other reason than that the person in front of him was just too handsome. It's not that they have never seen a handsome man before, they have also seen the prince's handsome appearance with their own eyes. But compared to the person in front of him, it was not at the same level. More importantly, this person seemed to exude a strange aura. This breath is so attractive that if the sexual orientation of the two people was not absolutely normal, I might be a little unable to control myself at this moment. Brother, you are too handsome. You are completely different from the ugly guy in this painting. One of the gatekeepers couldn't help but blurt out. Ugly? May I ask, brother, who is this in the painting? The visitor raised his eyebrows slightly and asked. Of course it's Nai-Chen. Apart from him, how else can there be such an ugly person in the world? Roar. The person standing in front of the two soldiers was none other than Nai-Chen. Nai-Chen originally planned to sneak into the capital of Yufeng dynasty, find out what Xu Xian was up to, and then send this man who coveted his wife directly to the west. Unexpectedly, he was wanted throughout the Yufeng dynasty. The key is that those wanted portraits are uglier than the last. In comparison, this portrait with 3 heads and 6 arms is already considered good. In some other portraits, I don't even look like a human. Nai-Chen had an extremely unfriendly smile on his lips. But I heard that the man named Nai-Chen is so handsome that it's indescribable. Even an ordinary girl might fall in love with him and fall in love with him just by taking one look at him. How could she grow up to be so ugly? This. The two soldiers seemed to mutter a few words in confusion. By the way, we seem to have heard before that there was a very handsome Tianyun Palace immortal seedling named Nai-Chen. But this time, it seems that all the painters who painted Nai-Chen handsome were killed by the prince. Instead, the uglier the paintings were, the more rewards the painters received. So, it seems to be like this in the end. We don't dare to say it, and we don't dare to ask it. Since it's the prince's decision, we'd better stop talking. The two soldiers soon fell silent, not daring to say another word. By the way, if I say that I am Nai-Chen, I wonder what you two will do. Suddenly, Nai-Chen said something coldly. The two soldiers were stunned for a moment, but soon they laughed and answered. Ha ha ha, brother, are you kidding me? You are so handsome, how could you be related to such an ugly Nai-Chen? Brother, if you were really Nai-Chen, I could stand on my head and eat shit. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that the vision and aesthetics of these two brothers are so good. It's rare, it's rare. Nai-Chen also laughed. Halfway through his laughter, he looked at the guard on the right. By the way, shit-eating brother, may I ask your name? My name is Wang Lu. Wang Lu, I remember you, brother. Nai Chen patted Wang Lu on the shoulder, looked at him meaningfully, and finally walked into the city gate. Wang Lu was stunned. For some reason, he recalled Nai Chen's subtle look just now. He suddenly felt as if he was being watched. Wanping City was bustling with activity. Many people gathered on the street, and many of them were vying to discuss something. I heard that the Righteous Crusade meeting organized by Wanhua sect is about to be held. This time, they want to crusade against the evil Nai Chen. Nai Chen? Is he the shameless licker who knows the relationship between the Empress and the Prince, but still thinks he is favored by the Empress? I have seen his portrait. I heard that he has 3 heads and 6 arms, and his body is covered with warts and hair. He is ugly. Then we should really crusade against that ugly traitor. He dared to compete with the Prince for the Empress. He is really tired of living. As the largest sect in our Wanping city, Wanhua sect will definitely kill him completely. That's right. Although we don't have the opportunity to participate in the Wanhua sect's meeting, we must see this exciting moment. Sure enough, Wanhua sect is the guardian of our Wanping city. For a while, many people rushed to the place where Wanhua sect held the meeting of various sects like water, and they were all excited. Nai Chen also sneaked in quietly with the crowd. However, he clenched his fists until they made a loud bang, and the murderous intent on his body could no longer be concealed. Good fellow, this guy Shu Xian actually defamed himself in front of the entire dynasty. It seems that it is time to teach this completely uncompetitive rival a lesson. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 91. The Wanhua sect is the largest sect power located near Wanping City. More importantly, Wanhua sect is one of the biggest supporters of the Yufeng dynasty, and is secretly protected by the Yufeng dynasty. Therefore, its power has gradually grown in recent years, and it has an excellent reputation among the people. At this moment, after hearing that it was the Righteous Path conference held by Wanhua sect, people in the city poured into the attic of the Righteous Path conference one after another. The streets were crowded with people and the streets were blocked. Following the crowd to the attic, Nai Chen suddenly jumped up to the 3rd floor where many monks were. Damn it, brother, you are doing well in Qinggong. A monk at the top of the stairs was startled, but soon frowned slightly. But, why do I seem to have never seen you before? Which sect are you from? Nai Chen casually cupped his hands and said, I am a disciple of the Netherworld sect, and I came here to listen to the Righteous Path conference organized by the Wanhua section. The monk was obviously confused. Netherworld sect? Why have I never heard of a sect with this name in our dynasty? And this name? A strange smile appeared on Nai Chen's lips. Are you sure you want to continue? Why can't I say it? Suddenly, the monk noticed something was wrong and pointed at Nai Chen in shock. Wait. Are you a demon who sneaked in? Trembling in his heart, the monk quickly wanted to retreat. But just taking a step away, he saw Nai Chen's figure flashing like a ghost. There was absolutely no room for resistance. He only felt as if lightning had struck the back of his neck, and in an instant, his eyes fell into darkness. Isn't it good to live without talking too much? Nai Chen sighed, threw the monk's limp body casually in the corner, and covered it with a chair. The others were obviously more sensible, and no one came forward to cause trouble. Nai Chen easily blended into the crowd of righteous monks. At this moment, the Righteous Path conference organized by Elder Xiao of the Wanhua sect officially started. Elder Xiao spoke impassionedly and passionately. The Wanhua sect has a history of thousands of years and has grown from a small sect to what it is today. Do you know why? It's because Wanhua sect serves the country and cares about the people of the world. In an instant, someone shouted excitedly. Yes, everyone is right. Elder Xiao nodded and glanced around. It is precisely because of the grace of the Yufeng dynasty, especially the crown prince, that our sects have been able to develop and prosper. But today, that extremely ugly thing named Nai Chen, with 3 heads and 6 arms, actually did something bad to our prince. What do you think we should do? Kill him. Right? The eradication of Nai Chen was not only an act of loyalty to the prince, but also an act of justice for the entire Yufeng dynasty and for the people of the world. Starting from today, I, the one who is sect, have decided to take the first step to hunt Nai Chen for the whole world. As long as this ugly guy dares to step into the Yufeng dynasty, we will definitely cut him into pieces. Moreover, I will also send a large number of monks with advanced cultivation to various places. Once Nai Chen is discovered, he will be killed. Elder Xiao is mighty. Kill Nai Chen. Kill Nai Chen. For the prince. Who is Nai Chen? He's ugly and useless, but he dares to shamelessly anger the prince. The empress once showed mercy to the prince, but he, an ugly bitch who was nothing but nothing, still dared to be self-righteous. If I see him, I will cut him into pieces to vent my anger. That's right, if I were standing in the room with that ugly thing, I'd be tempted to jump down and commit suicide on the spot. Nai Chen is unforgivable. We must kill Nai Chen. All of us monks are responsible for this and must do it. We, the Brahma Sea sect, are willing to fight and kill Nai Chen. Quancha Palace will never be afraid of a young person like Nai Chen. Fihi Tower is willing to take the lead and take away Nai Chen's head. The crowd was furious and shouts continued. Although Elder Xiao, who is now in charge of everyone, is only at the peak of the Xianyuan realm, he is far from being considered the top combat power of the Yufeng dynasty. But who doesn't know how to brag? Now in front of so many people, every word they say, every insult directed at Nai Chen may become a good talk, and even reach the ears of the high-ranking officials in the dynasty. No sect is willing to give up this kind of opportunity easily. Looking at the scene where all the major sects were united and upright, the people below were all excited. There was a commotion on the street, filled with angry curses against Nai Chen and praise for the various sects at the One Who Is Sect conference. Not bad, very good. Looking at the scene in front of him, Elder Xiao quietly raised an inexplicable smile and murmured unconsciously. In this way, the prince's dragon blood formation will take a further step. This voice was so subtle that no one noticed Elder Xiao's low murmur. But among these noisy noises, Nai Chen clearly captured it through the Shunfeng ear that he had redeemed at the system. Shu Xian's dragon blood formation. Nai Chen frowned slightly. He originally thought that these righteous monks with no ability were just brainwashed by the prince to brag in front of the people. But it seems that this thing that seems to be directed at him is not as simple as it seems. Kill Nai Chen. Kill Nai Chen. No, no, no. Click. Amidst the shouts, many monks present threw their magic weapons at the portrait of Nai Chen, who was hanging in the room with 3 heads and 6 arms, and finally pierced it with one sword. I pierced Nai Chen's face with one sword. It seems that it is God's will. I must be the one who kills Nai Chen with my own hands and enjoys all the glory and wealth. A bearded monk exclaimed loudly, making the atmosphere even more heated. Wait, I have a question. Just when many monks were in a state of excitement, Nai Chen suddenly raised his arm high, interrupting the noisy atmosphere. The voice suddenly stagnated. Elder Xiao was obviously very dissatisfied, frowning at Nai Chen. This conference has already set the outline of killing Nai Chen. Do you have any questions? Of course it is a very important question. Nai Chen smiled slightly, and in just a moment, his eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of piercing coldness. I want to ask Elder Xiao, if Nai Chen, whom you want to kill, is here now, what will Elder Xiao do? Nai Chen, that evil man, provoked the dynasty and tried to gain the favor and protection of Empress Qingyu with a treacherous scheme. If I see him, I will definitely not hesitate and kill him with my own hands. Feeling the gazes of the people around him, Elder Xiao was full of righteousness. It is worthy of being Elder Xiao. Elder Xiao is so courageous. The many cultivators in the conference and the people below cheered, and they couldn't help but feel a sense of respect in their hearts. What if I say that I am Nai Chen? But at this moment, Nai Chen smiled slightly.